Tech Heads, back again for yet another episode. Today, we'll be giving you a nice and sweet introduction to one of our favorite programming languages, Python. We give you some project ideas, talk about how it's applied throughout a dozen different industries, and where it all started. We also touch on GeoGuessr and aliens in the PNW. This is Tech Heads.
4, 3, 2, 1. So, here we go.
How you all feel tonight?
Let's get started.
Tech Heads episode 9 coming at you, dude. We're back.
Fresh.
Happy Sunday, or whatever the heck day it is you're actually listening to this on. But anywho, we're back. Before we get too deep into today's topic, how was your week, Anna? How was everything?
Hey, Victor. Hello, everyone. Sadly, I don't have a beer to share right now, but anyway. My week was pretty good. It's the weather has gotten so nice this weekend here in Florida, so we're enjoying it by doing outdoorsy things. I don't know what it's like in Oregon, but it's probably gonna be the last cold front we see now until the end of the year. Mm-hmm. I think.
Yeah, it's been insanely nice here. Been going on bike rides, really trying to fit that mold of a typical Portlander just by getting around by bike as much as I can, more than taking my car. Yeah, it's insanely nice. It's springtime, cherry blossom season, clear skies. Right. What is it, like maybe it's like 65 right now, just sun setting, so beautiful. I'm stoked for the summer. Ooh. It's going to be such a fun time. I heard that it was actually like 40 degrees somewhere in Florida, like DeLand or something.
I know, right? It was actually, I think, from Thursday to Friday night.
Jeez.
I took my dog out, to like on Thursday night before going to bed, and it was already like pretty chilly. And then the following morning, it was beautiful, but kind of like in the 40s. So it was a nice day to work from home. Just open the windows, like let some fresh air in. I love doing that. So it's a good little break. But we're excited for the warm weather to take the paddle boards out and do all that fun stuff. Take the dog to the beach.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, I've also been playing a little. I don't know if you've ever played it. Have you ever played GeoGuessr?
Oh my God, it's so funny you say that, because I saw a video that was on either my hot or what is it? I forget what the tab is called on YouTube, like the popular videos or whatever. And one of them was like the couple of guys that managed to guess all of their locations without moving, just by doing a full 360 of their spot. So, yeah, I was like, wow, that's crazy. How? That must be really good.
Yeah, I've been playing it for on and off for like over a year, I think. But I finally just kind of went just full dive, full send into it. Yeah. Watching a lot of what's his name? GeoWizard or something. I don't know. That's what I think got me onto it. But I also saw that these skaters started playing it on Twitch, because they have a whole category on famous skate spots all throughout the world. So that was a no-brainer for a lot of skaters. And for me, I was pretty aware of most of those spots, so I could do it. But it's so fun to just do a random category, urban dweller or something, and just see try to figure out what city you're in. It's so fun. I love it. It's something I wish I had actually played when I was in geography back in 6th grade.
Yeah, that's a really good idea to incentivize, kids to learn about geography.
Yeah.
That's it's a free game too. So it's something I haven't tried, but I've watched a few videos on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
And some of those guys were incredible.
We're going to have to play together over Zoom.
I know.
I know.
That's
so
actually a
fun.
really good idea.
It's so fun. I love it. I tried to get Dylan to play, and she was into it for maybe 5 minutes, and then she's like, "This is so lame, dude." I could not knock her for it, because it kind of was. It was Friday night.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
And tell us about your new gig.
Oh, new job is epic. I'm really digging it so far. It's a SaaS company out here in Portland, based out here, but so far so good. I'm loving everybody I've met virtually. It's organized. It's great. It's a great stack so far, from what I understand. Everybody really is on the same picture about a lot of things. Everybody's very transparent. Nothing to complain about so far. I'm really, really digging it. And they gave us Good Friday off, so it was indeed a Good Friday.
Yeah, right. So what do you think is are you gonna work remote like for the time being, or have they told you?
So there was a town hall meeting like right before I started, so I got to watch it. And I guess what they're going to do is most likely stack everybody so that they go in at different days. But it's difficult because a lot of people, they have all this equipment like dual monitors and your laptop and your stand and keyboard, all that stuff. So it's almost difficult to even picture that, because then like what are you going to do? Lug it every other day to the office and then just like bring it home? So it's a little difficult. I mean, for me, I wouldn't mind that at all. I just bring my laptop home, plug it into my monitor at home, do that, and then bring the laptop to the office and do that whole setup. So, yeah, so that's I don't know. They're also not sure on the date. Definitely no earlier than July 1st is what I heard.
Right. Yeah, that's actually pretty consistent with what's going on in my company too. I was on a call, and I think, like our CEO or like C-level execs, they've been pretty much following like, I don't know, progress notes or whatever, memos from like the CDC and like, government agencies. And yeah, that's the same thing that they said about July. So we'll see. Cause I think that not that there will be like pushback, but because they know the company has remained pretty functional with people, a lot of our people working from home. I think that, they're going to definitely continue to offer that as an option, because I've already heard from some people in IT, like how much money they save on gas and toll and, the time. For me, it's mainly like, the time and not having to sit in traffic. So I'm currently doing 2 days at the office and then, 3 days at home. So that works because I do get some face-to-face time with, my managers, and that does help a lot. But I really feel like there's no need to, add more than that. If anything, I would even push, at some point for like a 1 day a week at the office or something. I don't know. We'll see. They've been pretty flexible, considering that I've only been there for a few months. I remember that my first week I was there every day, but then second week, started, and I was already like, okay, can we start, the remote thing this week? And they're like, yeah, sure, go for it.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, if you have like a good structure and they have a plan in mind, which by now every company should, because everyone has some kind of remote element, then it shouldn't really affect the workflow and the productivity on both ends, like the managers and their employees. So, it's nice to have that option. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, all the studies I've seen just show that people are working just as hard as they would at home, and if not, sometimes even more efficient. And even, within my company, they've, tracked everything that they possibly could with how much people are working, how much is getting done versus before pandemic. And everything is like totally on track with how everybody was when they were in the office. And this is tens of thousands of people. And it's just like, everybody is adapting to it really well. But it's also really nice because, there are those people who don't have the best like home situation and like office setup. They're like working in the living room or something and just can't like seem to catch a break and like get some like quality, quiet work time. So a lot of people definitely stress about it, and they're lonely, you know, because some of these people, they might not be with anybody. So I know it has been hard for a good chunk of people too, but it's been really nice to see that my company, you know, with them being in like the ethics and compliance world, they're offering so many like different resources to help the employees and, you know, make sure that they're sane and happy. And they even like, you know, do these meetings where it's not like a work meeting. It's more like just a hangout sesh or coffee sesh, or, you know, watch a little Netflix or something. So it's really cool. I'm really digging the vibe so far. Really stoked on it.
Yeah, very good to know.
Yeah. Speaking of vibes, I feel like the vibe of our podcast so far, it's like, I don't know, I guess it's like office hours with a really chill professor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like oh my gosh, if you're like, I don't know, go back to like when you were a freshman in college and you're just like, I don't know, I don't think you stayed in a dorm because you were going to a local college. Yeah. I didn't stay in a dorm either, but I could totally picture like the vibe because, you know, I'd visit people in dorms and hang out and whatnot. But I could totally picture like you're a freshman, you're walking past like the RA's room and like, you know, he's with his older friends, like upperclassmen, just like shooting the shit and talking tech and other nonsense with their friends. And, you know, they like see you kind of around the corner. They invite you in to come hang out. They're just like on a Saturday night, just like you and me right now, talking techie shit. So techie and kind vibes all around.
Yeah, I know. Actually, that's a very good point. It's, you know, super cash, and I'm you know, I have like things that are on the back of my mind that I still have to do, but I think I feel much better this week compared to like previous weeks. So I am a lot more like chill and, you know, mellow today. So,
hell yeah.
You know, just, and also it's because it's Easter tomorrow, you know, I'm going to get some quality time with the family. And yeah, you know, just like trying to focus on the good things. So, but you're right. Like it does have that vibe. Did you mean that like in general or tonight?
Oh, no, just in general. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
It's usually,
I can get behind
we're
that.
in our free time on a Saturday night, pandemic aside, just the idea of us being like, oh, you know what? Like, let's get on Zoom Saturday night and let's just talk about Python.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think it's so
know,
funny.
right?
It's just like classic academic sort of chill vibes. I don't know. I don't really know how to put it, but
same.
Well, I guess I kind of, the cat's out of the bag. We're talking about Python.
For those who didn't pay attention.
and because I totally don't record intros and tell people what we're talking about beforehand. But that aside, we're talking about Python. I guess we can just get right into it. I'm just going to go deep on Python right now. Sure. So how to explain Python? Yeah. It's like a multi-purpose language, really nice syntax. It's really easy for beginners to learn. It's obviously really popular for that reason, but it's really funny because it's so popular among such a broad range of people. There's software developers, data analysts, mathematicians, accountants, stock traders, engineers, like network engineers, scientists in general. They just like love it. Personally, I use it for automation, but you know, for of course all of these types of people that I listed that use it, you know, they use it for data analysis and visualization, artificial intelligence, and even more into that machine learning, of course, and much, much more. So automation, I would say, is one of the more popular things with Python because it's so user-friendly to actually get into once you learn some of the basic syntax and ideas. It's not that difficult to really get started if you work with Excel, which is how I kind of got started with Python, just automating very simple Excel sort of things. Or if you work with PDFs, if you like to parse websites or whatever, you can easily just code something that will automate your very mundane work tasks that you don't like to do. On that note too, web scraping as well. because that's also just something that's very accessible by just Googling whatever you're trying to do and look up a simple function to do. So web scraping and automation with things that you're familiar with, those are definitely on the more entry level, easy, just kind of jump in and try to learn it side, I would say. More on that, it's a high level language, which could be sort of misleading because, you know, when you hear high level learning, you might be like, oh, this is super complex and unintuitive and everything. But what it really means is that you won't really have to worry about complex tasks such as memory management like you do in C++ ANA. It's also cross-platform, so you can run and build it on Windows, Mac, and Linux, which is really, really nice. And there's, like I said, there's always resources for you to find online what will help you actually solve the problem you might run into.
Yeah, that was a very good intro. I think pretty much covered, you know, like the biggest pros, and you know, it gave like the listener a good glimpse into why Python has not slowly, but you know, has become such a popular language. You know, because of its like versatility, and it's it offers, you know, a good gateway from people that don't really understand, you know, that don't come from a programming background but want to learn. You know, that was my first language. I think in one of the like our first few episodes, you know, that we talked about how we got into programming, that was it. Like I did Code Academy, which is still around to this day, and I went through their, you know, Python course, you know, for like a couple hours. And I mean, back then I still struggled a little bit to understand because I was coming from, you know, like biology background and didn't really have any experience with programming, but Python seemed like it made more sense. So yeah, I think, you know, to add to your notes, you know, Python has been around now for about 30 years, it seems. It was developed by a guy called Guido van Rossum.
Oh, yeah. Super, super smart dude.
Yeah, seriously. And I think I was listening to a podcast recently that said that he used to be, I don't know if he's still like a Python core developer.
He's not, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that after the latest, after Python 3 point something came out, he kind of, you know, hung up his boots and, you know, decided to pass the torch to the other folks there. Very, you know, obviously very capable people. They're still maintaining the language, like releasing new, you know, features and contributing. So it's, you know, something that is very well maintained.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, these folks are like, even I think Microsoft. I don't know if like one of the guys, oh yeah, the podcast that I was listening to, the guy works for Microsoft, but he's a Python core developer. So it kind of ties into like, you know, the new philosophy of some big enterprises to give back to like open source, you know, and that's what like Python is an open source language, unlike like Java is, you know, an Oracle language. So
even before open source was a term, that they were open source.
Yeah, right, exactly. So anyone can use it. And you know, it just shows, you know, like there's so many pros, and you can run a quick little, you know, program in Python just by importing a little package if you want, or hello world, and off you go. You know, like you do it in one line of code. That's the beauty of it, you know, high level language for that reason. And yeah, I currently use I wrote a little script, you know, at my job where it runs like the, you know, the Python executable every day at 8 a.m. and then just shows like my console, and you know, I get my answer. I don't have to really dig for it. So I like that a lot. But yeah, I mean, like you said, you know, the main not the main, but you know, common areas where Python is widely used are, you know, web development, server side, like some of the frameworks that we're going to touch on, software development, obviously, mathematics with, you know, data science and analysis, and you know, some system scripting. But yeah, I think that's a good intro, right?
Hope so. Hope people are still listening. They're not like, what the did I just listen to? But actually, I want to go back to Guido van Rossum. He's
Okay.
super, super interesting guy from what I've gathered. I mean, I've been slightly aware of him. I really never looked too deep into him before, but you know, he just never, he's not this like, I don't know, like extravagant, crazy guy that you might imagine built an empire and did something so big as create Python, but he's not. He's just a normal dude from Amsterdam. He got his master's in like CS and math, which is great combo. Definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
From University of Amsterdam, and he actually states that the creation of Python was heavily influenced by a project that he worked on in 1986 for the CWI, which I don't know if you're aware of, but it's a National Research Institute for Mathematics and Computer Science, so that kind of worked with his degree, I would say. The project was called ABC Programming Language, which was going for this simple approach to programming, which had never been done before, and ultimately it failed. Again, this was 86, so you know this was pretty early on in this like techie sort of programming vibe, and it wasn't until like I think 1989 when he actually started thinking about doing a little side project called Python, which he actually attributes choosing the name to being a big fan of Monty Python's Flying Circus. Of course, like that's pretty famous sort of thing about it. Yeah. But yeah, his main goal was to make it easy and intuitive, open source, as powerful as anything else that was competing with Python at the time, suitable for everyday tasks. And the big thing, which I came across in my Python for Data analysis book, which is really cool. I recommend everybody get it. Not everybody. It's not like pick it up and read it sort of book, but I recommend maybe you check out getting it. The big thing that was emphasized was short developer time, which I've never really thought of before, but I realized like, oh my gosh, the things I've built, which aren't that many. I've built a few things, but I could imagine how long some of these things might have taken, you know, using something else. Sure, it might not be like days or weeks longer, but it definitely like added up and saved me so much time just because I was using Python. So I really like that. Exactly. Some other things about him, he actually was there in the beginning of HTML and engaged in early discussions about its standards, which is super cool. Wow. He worked at Google. He spent half of his time there developing Python. Eventually, he worked for Dropbox, retired for a year, and then was like, I don't like retirement, and then just went to work for Microsoft casually, which is so funny.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah, super chill dude.
What a career.
I know. I couldn't imagine just like, oh yeah, I made, like, he's, you know, like I said, he's just like this typical looking dude who just like wears t-shirts and does talks here and there, I guess, and I guess works for Microsoft, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny you said that about the book. I actually have a couple of books from that. Have you heard of No Starch Press? You know, like the publisher, that they have all those, they have a lot of like programming books. I think it's a pretty popular one. I'll show you later. But I have the book that's called Automate the Boring Stuff with Python.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got that one, and it's like some very, very cool ideas and simple stuff, you know, that it can save you minutes, if not even hours of a workday, you know, because right now at my current job, I've noticed that some people still do a lot of manual stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to, like, can we get some Python in here? Python to the rescue. But no, obviously, you know, that's like a very ambitious idea. We definitely have to start off small. Obviously, so far I use it, you know, for individual purposes, you know, to make my job easier. But hopefully, you know, that's something that we can try and like at a later point, you know, get adopted throughout the company, because it's so much easier to teach people how to use Python than doing the work for them, unless it's like a big project. And you can start off, you know, with like a book like that can give you ideas on how to manipulate an Excel file. So, you know, it just like generate things for you instead of having to copy and paste, like the old school way. And I know that you and I worked together on, a project that involved Excel and, that required that. So it kind of eliminated the need to, do it manually, which is nice. And that was a very cool idea. I still have it on my GitHub repo.
Yeah, it's interesting. That was my first, or no, actually, no, not, I don't think it was that project, but it was a smaller one before. I think, I don't know if you remember, but there was it was a bunch of Excel files, I think maybe 100 Excel files that had to be merged into one file. And we're like, dude, our computers can't even handle this. I can't even open them all and do it. I'd have to go in one by one and do this. It's insane. And I remember I tried using VBA. And that just didn't really work out. I got some of it to work, but it was just too stupid. And then I was duh, I have to use Python for this. No brainer. So I think I knocked that out in a day or two, and then it just did it no problem. I remember you logged off for the day, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna use my next few hours to get this done. And then the next morning, I showed it to you, and you were like, whoa.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. How much time did it save?
Yeah, because honestly, maybe it's funny going back. If we were to have gone back and done it manually, it may have taken us about 3 hours because it was so many files, and it took me about 3 hours to code it, maybe 4 with your help, something like that. It wasn't days or anything, and that was my first project. So imagine being a seasoned Python developer going and being oh, I'm just going to write a quick Python script, probably 30, 45 minutes max to do that.
Right. And
we got it done. So that was pretty cool.
It ended up being what, less than 50 lines of code?
Yeah, it was not too bad at all. And it's recyclable. We use it for other things still. So
yeah, no, that's the thing with, I think, instead of trying to find, a way that you already know that you can fix a problem, in this case where you knew that you could manually do it. If you try and, maybe take a little longer to learn the Python way to solve that problem,
pays off.
Then yeah, it really does, because even if you don't come across that exact scenario in the future, you're going to be able to dissect that project and see, how that can apply to something else. Especially if you're working with files constantly and you have to merge files, but you might have to merge them differently. I don't know. It's so much more worth it, I think, to invest the time to learn how to do something programmatically rather than having to rely on a specific tool, So
yeah, I saw it as a good opportunity to actually jump into it and actually do something productive with it. So I took it, and here we are. Now I love Python. Some other things that I did were other Excel projects and stuff that I do on the daily or did on the daily, and general web scraping and stuff. But I do have some project ideas for the listeners, actually, so you don't have to read a book to get some great ideas started. But once you actually do these ideas, maybe you can go out, grab your book, and get all these projects done and post it on your GitHub. So one idea, which I haven't done, I know it can be done because I've seen a similar sort of project. One thing that you could look into is, so let me paint a picture. So have you ever been on YouTube and you find a good song that you like, but it's not on Spotify or Apple Music?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what if I told you could write a Python script that will automatically add that song to a Spotify playlist or Apple Music playlist if you just like it on YouTube?
Really? Ooh.
That's it, just Python.
That's awesome.
I mean, not to say that it's stupid easy. It's a little bit of, bit of work, but that's a super, that's a day's worth of work, maybe, not even. Get it done in a day, and you just, that alone, shows you the power.
Right.
And I actually came across another one that I didn't get to see the code on it, but somebody apparently wrote something that automatically pays their barber when they arrive at the barber shop to get their hair cut.
Really?
Which is super funny. Like, I just love to picture like that guy sitting in the chair getting his hair buzzed. He's like, yeah, I hope you got my pay today. And he's like, oh yeah, I got it. Oh, by the way, how did you do that? Oh, ever heard of Python? I just love to.
Let me tell you.
I love to picture like that conversation. I bet that was so weird. The guy's just like, can you like lean to the left a little bit? You can.
I know. Right?
You can. You can also make something that analyzes your stocks. You can even do like a stock price predictor, which you shouldn't rely on because it's not going to be anything groundbreaking probably if you're listening to this. Otherwise, you would have done it already. But you can do it using like recurrent neural networks, machine learning, which also sounds insanely hard, but I promise it's not. We're actually going to we're going to get into tools and frameworks that we'll be able to utilize for any of these project ideas that you may have come across or had, or even any of the ones that I laid out.
Yeah. I actually, the one that I was going to suggest for like beginners is Hangman. I built a Hangman project during boot camp. That was like our first big task, like in the boot camp after we started to learn JavaScript. So I've done it in JavaScript, but I've never done it in Python. So I should probably do it. Because, a long time ago, I met a developer and he said that the best way that he could learn different languages was by building the same game in that language.
Oh.
So, yeah. And I think that because you already understand the idea of the game, right? You just have to find out, like, you just have to learn the syntax and how the new language works. So that was I think it was like a very, very good point that he made. And I just wanted to relate that to the listeners, just a little tip, learning new languages by, building the same app that you've done it in like JavaScript. Try doing it in Python to learn more about Python.
Why not?
Why not? Try it. So I think, there are a lot of like little things that you can do with Python super quick. I think the one reason or one scenario, that I have working at my job now was to just use one of the open URL packages, so I import that package into the script first, and then what it does is it opens a URL and it reads the last line of that of the URL, and then I have it running in the console. So I work with a PC, so I scheduled in Task Scheduler to execute the script, so every day at 8 a.m. Whether I'm using the computer or not, the console or the command prompt pops up and it says, okay, how many lines do you wish to read from this URL? So usually I just do 5 to see the last, the history of the last couple of uploads. And sure, I can quickly open the URL too, but I just wanted to do it in Python. Why not? So
yeah, I mean, even if it is something so small and simple, like, start small. Do it in Python.
Right. It was like 10 lines of code, if that. I think I'm probably counting the blank lines, telling you it was 10, honestly. So, yeah, very simple stuff. But obviously, you can do, I don't want to say that, you can, that Python should only be used for simple things. No, because there are like big enterprise companies that use Python, in their production environment. So I think like Facebook is one of them. I mean, a whole bunch of companies. I'm sure you can probably name more than I can that you've heard that use Python. But it's for any kind of use case at this point. No wonder it's number 2, right behind JavaScript now. It's taken, over Java and C, so yeah. Python is really popular for that reason. You can use it for anything.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say one of the little tools that I recommend, which we've like mentioned a few times on the show, is Django, which actually allows you to use Python to actually build full stack web apps and server development. Like you said, like, going from automation and machine learning and everything, you can still build like just a full on web app with it, which I think is actually crazy. Another one I recommend is SciPy, which this will be interesting for you because we're familiar with this a little bit. The library is useful for like mathematicians and engineers, which is above our pay grade for sure. But it utilizes packages that we are familiar with, like NumPy and Pandas, to create these libraries for like common and like math and science sort of programming tasks. So it's really useful for that if you are a listener and you're an engineer or a mathematician, which, would be really cool. Hit me up if you are, because I'm gonna want to dig your brain. But
come on and be our guest.
Yeah. That too. Just let me dig your brain on air. Like, let's do that. And back to automation. Selenium is a really cool tool too that I've used in a couple projects. It allows you to like perform tests from any browser and automate just about anything on the web. So it's really nice for QA people too. It's really nice if you just don't like to do that one little thing that you have to do on your computer every day, log in something and click on a button just to see like whatever it is, like whatever small mundane task it is. You can probably do it with Selenium as well. And Jupyter, which is for machine learning.
Jupyter.
And machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. And of course, that sounds really difficult, but it's not. Before Anna and I actually had ever met, we were at the same Python presentation in Orlando where this was heavily discussed. Do you remember that?
Yeah. So that was a while back. So funny.
I know. And like we didn't know each other, but I like saw you from across the room and
thought, one day we're going to work together.
That's exactly what I thought. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my future coworker.
Exactly.
So to briefly touch on machine learning, it's basically where you feed tons and tons of data to a program that you built that will find and learn patterns in the input data so that it can actually make decisions on its own and make modeled projections. Simple example to paint a picture would be if somebody were to ask you to like write a program that identifies something specific, like a cat. So you would want to feed the program just a buttload of cats. Just like
that sounds wrong.
Just like import like buttloads of cats, and then it would be able to tell if the input picture has a cat or not with a solid amount of certainty. I think actually in the presentation that Anna and I were at, we saw something like this with like, I think it was a Doge, where somebody like took it way too far and the program started finding Doges in like pictures that didn't have Doges. Like they were like at the bottom of the ocean, just like random pictures. And just like they were like creating these disturbing images that distorted the image so much to actually make it look like the Doges were actually present. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think we could honestly go on from machine learning, which I would like to do, but the show must go on.
I was gonna say, I think one framework that I previously mentioned in a recent episode was Flask. I definitely want to give it a shot. Building my my new portfolio using Flask, because Django we're currently using in one of my classes to build our client project. So we use Django and React. Obviously Django for the back end, which uses Python, and then React for the front end. But I want to do my portfolio in Flask, because I think it's a bit more suitable. It's not like it's not really like a responsive application, because I'm mainly just going to be displaying content, so I don't need anything to be built with like models and apps and all that stuff. If anything, I'm gonna have like a contact info input field on there. But it's just mainly to display, information, so text. But Flask is another, big framework that uses Python that I could recommend, so.
Perfect. Well, do you have anything else to actually add on about Python? Because I don't want to really overwhelm anybody listening about this. We could do maybe another part about this, or go deep on a specific project and kind of break it down as to how you think about building something with Python, or like starting out with an automation project. We can go like step by step on
Right.
something that would be usable for a lot of people. So that might be something that kind of comes in soon.
Yeah, I would say one thing that I did have to get used to when I started using Python was the indentation, because every other language you do have to. It's especially if you use an integrated development environment or like a code editor, and you install like the language extension, it will definitely give you basically hold your hand so you can write the code in like a neat structure that's easy to read. And, if you're going to start to define a function, it automatically, gives you like the curly braces. So you write, the contents of your function in there. But with Python, everything is all about indentation. So that's just the one thing that I had to get used to. And you just have to pay attention, so you follow along and make sure that everything is indented where it's supposed to. Because I definitely got a lot of scope errors because of that. So
You got to watch out for those.
That was the one, big difference that I saw. But everything else was very nice because, like I said, with C++ that I use a lot, to print one single line to the screen, it will take about 10, 15 lines. With Python, you literally do print, parentheses, quotes, and the text that you want in there, and that will print it to the screen. Yeah, so.
I think that's it for me on Python. I have some news.
Oh, tell us.
It's not personal news. It's just news that I came across, but
What do you mean? We only take personal news here. What the hell?
Well,
share something personal about you after that Pythonic talk.
All right, noted. Well, Anna, I'm not sure if you're aware of what happened. What was it? God, when was it? Like a week ago, 2 weeks ago? That it was a bunch of viral videos of this like meteor-looking shower going across the sky. Did you see that?
No, I don't know.
It was like a week ago
so.
or maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't know. But basically a bunch of people in the PNW, they got a bunch of videos of just like this alien-looking thing going on outside. It was just like, it almost looked like a meteor shower going on in our atmosphere.
Oh.
Just like a ton of them. So there was a SpaceX rocket. What was it? It was like a pressure vessel that it landed on a man's farm here it was actually in Washington. It wasn't here. It was like 200 miles from here, I think. But, in terms of space talk, 200 miles is like a centimeter, So, with something falling from the sky, it's just very, very visible. But basically, there was this viral meteor shower looking event that happened back in late March, but it turns out that it was actually just debris from the Falcon 9 that launched back on March 4th. So 2-3 weeks after the launch, this stuff actually came back and landed all the way over here when the launch was in Kennedy Space Center, of course. Yeah, okay, so it was a pressure vessel from a Falcon 9. Here, let me get the link for you up here. Anyway, it was a pressure vessel from a Falcon 9 rocket stage, and it left a 4-inch dent in the soil. And it landed on some guy's farm. Yeah. Just like in some guy's farm, which is insane because like it was the size and shape of like a punching bag. So like it could have easily killed somebody. It's just crazy that all this happened because like most second stage parts from my or lack thereof a level of education in space, these parts either chill out in orbit for a few years or they just go in the ocean. Right. So it's just insane to think that, obviously something went wrong, because the plan was for it to deorbit back on the day of the launch, March 4th, but here we are. It was late March, it's early April now, landed all the way over here in Washington across the country.
So, is there any tracker on it? Like, did SpaceX know that this?
They know about it.
They didn't even.
Yeah, they won't comment on it.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's like insane.
Well, yeah, because they know that could have been like, I mean, they're liable for any kind of damage that creates if it killed someone.
Yeah,
like, shoot.
it's so classic too to picture, like, because I feel like in all the space movies, it's always in a Interstellar, it's like in a farm sort of setting where like this farmer's like, what in the Sam Hill is that? You know what I mean? Just like so classic that of course a farmer found this.
Oh,
But
damn.
regardless, I mean, it wasn't too far from here. But I don't know how I missed it, because I'm literally here in the Pacific Northwest where this was happening, and all the lights were going across the sky, and apparently it was this huge thing. But I was probably inside doing work, so that's my little wake up call.
Read more about that.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the description below to the article. Pretty crazy stuff.
I was gonna say, next time you leave your building, make sure that you
I look up.
you like duck a little bit, or you look up. You're like, okay, it's safe.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I do have a recommendation for the listeners as well. So there's this guy I follow on Twitter called Prathcom, I think is how you pronounce it. He regularly tweets these like really nice resources for developers, like cheat sheets, tips for like people who are kind of maybe considered a newbie, and projects that he recommends people to actually check out on GitHub. So everybody go give him a follow and be prepared, because you're probably going to be tempted like me to actually save every single tweet that he puts out, just for reference or whatever if you're stuck building a project. So it's at Prathcom, Prathkum, I think. Super good resource. I go on it every day and see what he tweeted and bookmark it for later.
Awesome. I was actually just looking for a link that I came across on LinkedIn, to recommend to listeners, because I saw one of my connections sharing a link that apparently, and this was tweeted, or this was, posted by GitHub itself. I don't know if it's a prototype or like it's still under development, this feature. But so when you upload your code and your file headers, it will extract information from your file headers and auto create a README. Boom. Does that blow your mind or what? Because I am awful at creating READMEs, and I thought that was amazing news to me.
Wait, so when you say create the README, like I get, like, when you initialize a repo, you can check a little box that says, have the README.
Yeah.
Are you saying like a template sort of thing for it, or?
Well, it will actually pull the information from your
I see what you're
project.
saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It will auto-create a README for your repo.
So it'll tell you everything about it, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Look, don't get me wrong. There is an art, I think, to creating a good README. And some repos have some really nice ones. I just don't really. It's not really my cup of tea.
It's like HTML,
So when I
essentially. Whatever.
Yeah.
What I don't know
It
what is the language called? I don't know. I just kind of markup. Is it markup?
It's markup.
Yeah.
I think it is markup, right? Yeah, I think I had to use that for a recent class, or I don't know if it was one of the classes I'm taking now, that we have to turn in READMEs for our projects. So I just use an interpreter. I write everything in English, and then it kind of like overleaf with the LaTeX format.
Yeah.
It just, as long as you have the right symbols on there, for your headers and for your plain text, then it just, translates it and converts it into README.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's how I used to take notes when I was
mean,
learning Python. Actually, I would
really?
I would make READMEs for every single section that I was learning at the time. So that actually, like, not only was I learning Python, but I was learning how to make really nice READMEs too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, like I said, some repos have really nice READMEs, and it tells you everything you need about that project. But I thought that was this whole auto create your README was such a blessing.
Wow.
So let's hope that they pull that this is like actually. I mean, it was coming from the GitHub LinkedIn account, so I think it's true.
I mean, we'll see how that turns out because,
Yeah.
like back to what I said with like the whoever made that little Doge program that found Doges in everything. This could be a disaster. It's gonna find.
It could be a
It's gonna find
disaster.
one little line and be like, "That's what this code is about," and it's gonna just like emulate that or whatever. I don't know. It could be scary. It could be
Right,
cool.
yeah.
I'm excited to see that though. I'm glad you actually shared that. I'm gonna look into it.
That was my recommendation for the week.
You guys heard it here first. Also, go play GeoGuessr. Let's all play GeoGuessr or something. I don't know.
Oh right, yeah.
So fun.
That's
Maybe on an off pod day, or maybe maybe like before we record or after we record on a free night. Let's do a little GeoGuessr, get pumped for the pod,
Oh yeah, why not?
and then whoever wins gets to open up the pod.
Are there competitions for that? Like, do you know if they're like, are there like, or maybe even before COVID? I wonder if
I
there was
doubt
like
it, because like the whole
kind of like
platform.
gaming competitions.
Maybe, I don't know, because like the whole online platform, they already have like a ranking system and all that stuff. So maybe there's totally so many different ways you could do an official tournament, I guess, but I don't know.
Right, I was gonna say, interesting, but yeah, we should definitely do it.
It's so fun. I love I don't know, I go off of like the vibe I get from the picture. Like I get like a Mexican tropical vibe, or I get like a very Nordic vibe, or I don't know. Oh, I was kicking myself the other day because I was playing the game and I was in a more urban sort of area that I've never been to, but I saw Portuguese on a sign. I was like, oh, that's it, we're in Portugal. And I was like, oh, that works out. Like, I'm just gonna hit Portugal, I'm gonna hit Lisbon, and of course we're in Brazil, where of course, like, obviously, it's like they speak Portuguese, like.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my god, I'm so dumb. Of course this isn't Portugal. It didn't even give me Portugal vibes. I just went based off the fact that I saw Portuguese.
The writing. Gotcha, yeah.
I'm just a dumb American over here. So, lesson learned. Don't automatically assume that it's Portugal. Or don't automatically assume it's Brazil, I guess.
No, yeah, that's true, because there are differences even in the language,
See, I'm not that seasoned. I thought it was Spanish at first, and I was like, oh, you know what? That gives me like Portuguese vibes. I'm gonna go with like Portuguese, Portugal. Perfect.
Right.
So
yeah.
you would have picked up on it. You'd be like, oh, that's Brazil, 100%. Sometimes I look at the sun. I see like how high the sun is and like what's going on, and northeast, southwest sort of vibe. So
Yeah. I can't even say, because I've seen like a video or two of those guys that are really good at it, but I have never played it, so I don't even know. Like, I would probably be like, I don't know, like a person literally looking around and like, oh my, where am I? I don't even know where to start.
friendly reminder, you can email us at techheadspod@gmail.com. Please feel free to shoot us your questions, share some news, correct us on something we got wrong. It would just be really cool to hear from you guys. So it's always nice to hear suggestions and just like things that people got from it. I think that is awesome. It really like makes my day. So
Yeah, for sure. We're also on, on social media platforms like Twitter, at TechHeads Podcast. And tell them about Dev2.
oh yeah, you can check us out on Dev2 now as well. We're right under Syntax, if you've ever heard of it, which I would imagine you have if you're in this world of listening to some deep track pod called Tech Heads. You've, I'm sure, heard of Syntax. It's like the biggest web development podcast. And if you, for some reason, haven't heard of it, definitely check it out. It's a little more entertaining than ours, maybe, and more educational. So it's like better in all ways. But you're not going to get us on there. So totally different guys.
Yeah.
But super good podcast. But yeah, we're on Dev2. So If you've that's another good resource. Like go on Dev2 if you're looking for like this Twitter sort of vibe for web developers and software engineering and data. It's just a bunch of blogs that people write and recommend. It's a really fun time. So check it out.
For sure. Yeah. So send us emails or tweets or I don't know. LinkedIn. Follow us on LinkedIn. We're on there.
Endorse
as well.
us.
And endorse us. Yeah, exactly. Or visit our simple cast page and or YouTube channel. I mean, you can find us now. So get creative.
Yep. And when our episodes premiere live on YouTube, I'm usually there in the chat. So come hang. And like we said, if we get enough of a following, we'll do a Discord so we can actually all chill. So I'd really like that.
Yeah. Yeah. At some point, we can also do a live coding session on YouTube, live stream. So we can explore that. But yeah, hit us up so we know, I guess, for those out there listening, what you guys are, looking to hear about, learn about, or if you just want to tell us that we suck, please don't.
we do a roast session.
Yeah, right. Come roast us, but then tell us some nice things too.
Oh, how brutal would that be if we had a roast session where we have our GitHub repos just like on the table and we just let people look at it and they're like, you should have done that here. I could have done this in 10 lines. You sick motherfucker.
Yeah, right.
Did this in 100 lines.
Seriously, yeah. Your Readme suck.
All right, well,
anyway.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in for another app. We'll see you all in a week, and peace out.
Yeah, next week we're going to be recording episode 10. Can you believe it?
Episode 10. It's our 11th episode, but if you don't understand, then just listen to our previous episodes.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Peace.
Good night.